Welcome to the live premiere, and I wanted to do something a little bit extra for the game for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. We still don't know when the game is going to come out, and I wanted to put something new together with talking about characters beyond the Sonic universe and beyond his world, and not only that, a mix of other Sega reps that can probably get into the game outside of Sonic the Hedgehog. And originally, when I first started talking about this game, when it got revealed a little bit shortly after it got revealed at the Game Awards from December, I was super excited to see this game and that we're getting a new Sonic racing game, and I didn't expect to see one. And just being a little bit open, I didn't even really get a chance to experience Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing, Sonic Racing Transform. I missed out on those. This was my first Sonic racing game that I was already playing. Well, at least the newest one that I had. And prior to this, I was playing Sonic Riders on the Nintendo GameCube. So that would count as my first Sonic racing game, I would say for sure. But this one is the most recent one that I've been playing here on the channel, and already completed the team adventure, and it's still people playing the game actively online. If you haven't really been able to find people, I'm on PlayStation, and I've been able to find quite a few people still playing this game. And even when the closed network test was getting close to starting, a lot more people were playing this to kill time, just for the memories and things like that. So I didn't really know what those games were like until I really started watching gameplay and finding out what kind of characters they had, what were the differences in comparison to the game. And I think the huge takeaway for this game is the fact that it had a team adventure mode, because the other games did not really have a story mode or some kind of adventure mode like Team Sonic Racing does. And that was something I was also looking for CrossWorlds, but it looks like we're probably not going to have one. So the difference when I was watching the gameplay is that I like the different characters. I like the characters that they had, and it wasn't all about Sonic the Hedgehog. And that's what I'm going to be talking about for this video, where it's not just going to be it's not about Sonic the Hedgehog and his friends and his enemies and all the different characters that he has encountered and went up against in all the different Sonic games. I wanted to talk about new Sega characters and my own third-party characters wish list. So I'm going to be getting into that, and you guys can share the third-party characters that you guys want to see. I feel like this game is probably going to be the game that we can definitely see a lot more characters, and it's already going to. I think it's going to exceed the character roster from Transform and Sonic and Sega All Stars combined with this one, because when you look at the characters in this game, it seems to be lacking. So I'm not going to play a race. I'm just going to stay and stick to the character roster and things like that. And some of these tracks, we already got to see all types of different returning worlds and crossroads. If you got a chance and got lucky enough, like I did, to get invited by Sega to play the closed network test, Sky Road was in it and so much more. But it's cool to see all those different tracks represented and many more that we don't know about, that could be playable tracks and additional cross worlds that they could take from different Sega worlds, from different worlds outside of the Sonic universe. And we're just going to chill in the character roster for the rest of the whole video so people can see all the characters in the game, and you can start weighing in on the characters of what you thought about the game, this particular game, if you played it or if you skipped it, and then some other characters that y'all want to see outside of Sonic. And that's the main focus of this video, is talking about other characters, and the potential is there. And for this video idea, and even go as far as saying, I think Among Us could have a great chance of being the first third-party characters to become playable, considering that little teaser post on Twitter if you haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to try to find that Twitter post if y'all haven't seen it, and I'll have it linked in the description so you guys can look at it and read it for yourself, and maybe it'll get you excited if you are someone who plays Among Us. I haven't played it, but I already know about the game and seeing what the gameplay is about, and trying to figure out who's sus, who's the sus one, and who's the one that's really attacking the players and killing them off one by one. So it's a really fun game to play. I got the game free, but I just haven't bothered even trying to play the game. So I feel like Among Us is definitely going to be one of the first third-party characters we'll end up seeing. But first, I want to start this first session off, this first portion of the video. I'm not even sure how long this will end up being, but you guys can weigh in and talk about the characters you guys want to, even if it's non-Sega characters, even some characters from the comments, the IDW comments. I haven't seen them. I don't know too much about them and all the characters' names and all the originals, things like that. So maybe some of those characters can get in possibly as a future update just to build the roster. I think this roster is going to be huge. So I want to start with new Sega characters for this first portion of characters that we have not yet seen before included in the Sonic racing game. Some of them got into Sonic and Sega All-Stars from Shenmue and many other Sega series, which was nice to see. Super Monkey Ball and many more. I remember playing that way back on the PS2. So new Sega characters, I'm just going to run through the list, and I'm going to put the same list in the description. So people, if you don't want to listen to it and watch the video in full, you could just go into the description and check out the little teaser post for Among Us, which could possibly mean like we could possibly end up seeing them at some point in the near future, or maybe some kind of collaboration. Even if it's not an Among Us character, maybe it could be a CrossWorlds, maybe it could be an additional track. And I'm going to get into that later on. Maybe some of these characters probably won't even become playable. They can do collabs and have them feature as new crossworlds for us to play on and race against, to be able to play against each other on, and we'll be able to have these new tracks featured from these different Sega worlds. And they already did it apparently from one of the tracks that's from the closed beta, but I don't well, the closed network test, but I forgot the name of the track. Maybe someone in here probably remembers what track it was that was featured. I think it was like something I was mistaken to be Metal Harbor, but it was from a Skyline game. I forgot, some kind of, I was gonna say Ace Combat, but I don't even remember what game it was. So new Sega characters, I put Vectorman. I just remember playing this one way back on the Sega Genesis. And then these are characters that Sonic can probably be able to interact with. Imagine that. And since they have interactions in the game, I can't wait to check those out and cover those. Maybe they're gonna probably have reactions to the other characters in this in the roster that could really be able to react to each other and say all kinds of stuff. Imagine Sonic and Kiryu from Yakuza, and I even threw in Bayonetta. So I don't know what's going on with Bayonetta. This is just new Sega characters I would love to see. Would Bayonetta fall under as a new Sega character, or would she count as a third-party character? That's something that I just don't really know about. So I don't know, does Sega really own Bayonetta and things like that? Someone was saying that it's something that was going on between with Sega and Bayonetta, and they ended up dropping her, and Nintendo ended up getting the rights and things like that, and really being able to fund the games. So I don't know the full story with that, but I put Bayonetta in the list. Hatsune Miku, I also put in a list as new Sega characters. Maybe she could be also a potential third-party character, but I don't know if she's really owned by Sega. I don't even think she is. Hatsune Miku. Axel Stone and Adam Hunter from Streets of Rage. I put Axel Stone, Adam Hunter, and Blaze. How about a Streets of Rage character? I feel like some of these characters, I wanted to put some of the best that made the most sense instead of just trying to rush a video out. I wanted to take time to really build this up, to really try to put some of the best characters that I think would fit this game, and they could really be able to relate to Sonic and belong, and really be able to fit a Sonic racing game, instead of just throwing anybody in here. It was an old school game that I remember called Dynamite Headdy. He only had one game. He's from the Sega Genesis era. He only had one game of his own, so I had to throw him in as a nostalgic character. Anybody remember Dynamite Headdy? If you guys played it on Sega Genesis. Ristar or Ristar, who was apparently supposed to be, he was the original mascot of Sega. I don't even know the full story. Is that true? Ristar or Ristar? I put him in there. And then some other series. Anybody play the Phantasy Star universe games? Something different to really be able to add in. I haven't seen anyone bring up the Phantasy Star universe games that I played. I had those way back on PS2. Those would be pretty cool to see. House of the Dead reps like Agent G. And then the Shinobi series that I remember bringing up a while back. I wanted to see Hotsuma and Hibana from the Shinobi series instead of just Joe Musashi. I wanted to put the other Shinobi like Hatsune and Hibana in this list as playable new Sega characters that can get into this game. Some people don't want to see the Angry Birds, but I put them in there because I had no idea Sega owns the Angry Birds. And you see, and just a little idea just to talk about. How do you guys think the Angry Birds would be able to play? Like maybe like in a group of four, like they did with the child. You got the hero and the dark child, the OG original child, and Oma child who always looks out for you in the tutorials. He saved my life a couple times. Let's get him back into the game. So I would like to see him return. He's definitely saved me out in a lot of tight spots when I was having some trouble with some of the games. And when you first start playing the game, he's here to look out for you. He's going to show you. He's going to be able to tell you, even though he'll talk too much a little bit. For getting credit to some people out there, but he's going to look out for you and have your back. So maybe that could be something that they could do with the Angry Birds. See how they group the child up? These four child are completely different. Yeah, they're child, but they're so different from each other. So they could probably group up the Angry Birds in one vehicle, in one cart. Or maybe you can play as them solo and maybe as a just two different sort of play styles as a dual feature. You could play as the Angry Birds solo, pick and choose from one of the Angry Birds, and or you can put them in a group together to share a cart. How cool would that be? I haven't seen any other kart racer out there do it. Mario Kart hasn't done it, where you can play as just characters that are supposed to be grouped together like this. You could be able to separate them to go solo and be individual, or you can group them up together to share the cart and ride together. So I think that could be something that Sega could do as a unique idea for something different, something that has not been done before. Mario Kart World ain't doing it. So they can do something like that for the Angry Birds, whether you like them or not. So they can be someone, it's just an additional roster characters or characters to boost up the roster a little bit and just have that variety. I really want to see the Persona series get in. And with the Joker, I went with Joker and Aigis from the Persona series. I was going to add in Teddy, because he made it in just as something that's unrelated. And Astro Bot, Joker was a playable. They ended up they added Joker, Aigis, and Teddy. Those were the three Persona characters that got featured in Astrobot. Maybe they'll follow suit and do the same thing with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Or they can take multiple Persona characters that could be able to get featured from different Persona games. Anybody remember Puyo Puyo Tetris? I haven't played this game, but I was just doing some research to try to spice up the roster a little bit for different reps to make it a little bit different with all types of different series to get in from the Sega universe. Puyo Puyo has some fans out there and has a fan base. Puyo Puyo Tetris, all types of unique characters like AiAi and many others that can get into this game for the Puyo Puyo Tetris series. And I had Shin Megami Tensei mixed up with the Persona series, but they're similar, but they're just different. Apparently Persona is the spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei, so I wanted to mention them as additional Sega characters that could become playable. Now, those are just the new Sega characters for now for that portion. So if y'all have some other Sega characters that y'all want to see outside of that, you guys can let me know. See how I didn't even mention Shenmue yet? That's because that's a series, one of my favorite series for Sega games. I love the Shenmue series. I still need to play Shenmue 3. But that's because I also made a returning Sega series of characters that can be able to get into the game as time goes on for DLC, even if they don't make the base roster, because it seems like it's only going to be 23 or 24 characters for the base roster. So returning Sega series, I'm just going to run through this. Speaking of Shenmue, Ryo Hazuki and Shenhua from Shenmue, and then I also added the infamous villain Lan Di, who's always has been running and just continues to run. We still haven't been able to fight him yet, and I don't know. Apparently he's not even. He just still doesn't show up in Shenmue 3, so he's just still running away, and we still haven't been able to fight him yet. But it'll be cool to see him get in as a playable racer, where we can really be able to get some revenge on him. Lan Di. So these are just 3 different Shenmue characters, and then some other characters that I picked up to run through this list. So it's so many different characters I can get in with iconic villains. So I wanted to also add them so they could join the likes of Eggman and things like that. We need some more villains for these kind of games because there's so many protagonist characters that's in this game that's flooding up the roster. Because when you see this screen, Shadow was originally a antagonist, but he had his own mission, his own goals. When you stop right here from Shadow, it's like 3 or 4 characters at the match, but maybe Shadow wouldn't even count as a bad guy or a villain anymore. It's only Metal Sonic, Dr. Eggman, and Zabot who are the main villains, so we need to get some more villains like Landy and other characters to really be able to boost up the antagonists when it comes to the roster itself. So Jet Set Radio, I would love to see, and some of these characters that I'm going to be mentioning as I go through the rest of the returning Sega series for my list real quick. I didn't put everybody because I didn't want to have it drag on. So these characters were already in Sonic and Sega All Stars. Some of them were, because Shenhua from Shenmue wasn't there, and Landy, of course. But it's just others that I wanted to mention from different series for returning characters that could be able to get their series back into the game. AiAi from Super Monkey Ball, BD Joe from the Crazy Taxi. Got the Space Channel 5 with Ulala, Virtua Fighter 4's Akira, Yuki, and Jacky Bryant can make their return. Knights and Reala. Reala was turned into a cart, so I don't think Reala was a playable. Maybe I'm wrong. Was Reala actually playable, or was Reala just a vehicle, or just a cart in the game? Julius Thunderhead from Golden Axe. Billy Hatcher from Billy Hatcher and the Giant Ed. Alex Kidd can return, and many more of those other characters that were already in Sonic and Sega All Stars, like from Samba de Amigo, Amigo from Samba de Amigo, but the Bonanza Bros, and so much more can be able to return that was already in those games as Sega reps. And I think it was like a group of zombies, Kamiko, and then Kamiya from House of the Dead. I think they were the only 2 House of the Dead reps that were in it, but they can expand more. So those are all the different returning Sega series that I want to see into the game and more. And now I want to start thinking about the third-party character wish list. So this will be the final little portion of the video. Just something just to get you guys opinions on what other characters would you guys like to see outside of the Sega universe, outside of Sega and Sonic the Hedgehog, So I already mentioned Among Us, but I just feel like there's got to be some kind of collab that we could probably end up seeing these. And this is going back to these guys with the Among Us characters can be able to share a cart, or maybe it'll just be one of them, one individual Among Us character, and we could probably be able to pick the color, because there's several different colors of the Among Us characters you could select from the game when you play. So maybe we'll be able to have those different color variations to really be able to select and choose from them, or maybe we can have them all in one cart, and it can be like a cool little cart for them to all just be able to write in together to share. So I think there's a possible chance, of there being a collab in the works for the teaser post for Among Us being in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. I think it's a great chance we could see them as the very first third-party characters. I really think we can, but maybe, just like I mentioned, since we're talking about the third-party characters now for this final portion, just real quick, maybe some of these third-party characters don't really necessarily have to be playable. They could be tracks. They could be these different tracks that's in the game, and it can get some kind of representation. What's stopping them from having us play in Among Us? It takes place in space, and I'm sure they have other different other different maps that you can play on, but we can get that original space map where they first started and be able to race on that track as a cool little collab. It doesn't necessarily have to be a playable character. It can be a cross-world or a playable new track, a full-on track to be able to race on. But I feel like was something that makes this even more exciting, because with the element of surprise and the potential of more collabs for this, and this game being able to get other characters outside of Sonic and Sega, Among Us can be the ones to open up that door, and they can be able to get their own tracks. Maybe some of these characters I'm about to get ready to list can probably be able to not only return, but also be new playable characters and get a cross world where we can be able to play on. So it doesn't really have to be all about the character and becoming a playable racer. You can have that series get represented as a track or a cross world. See what I'm talking about? So it'll be something that can really be interesting, and it'll create some hype. Maybe a new character joins and they can get a cross world. You can pay for the DLC. Of course, the DLC is not going to be free, but you can get the third party character and buy the character pack. And within that character, or that within that DLC, you pay for the racer or pay for the character. You also can get that cross world included, new cross worlds with the new racer included, whether or not that character or that racer that has been added for the update is Sega or from a Sonic world or something like that. Whether or not it's Sega or it's from Sonic the Hedgehog, when you get that DLC character, you can be able to unlock that cross world, and you'll be paying for the character in the cross world all into one in those costumes if it does contain that. So I'm not sure if it's going to be costumes or not, but it'll be nice to see it where you can get a track, you get the track, you get the character, or you unlock that, and that track or cross world to get included with the purchase of the character that you're paying for. So they can do it for Among Us. And then Banjo-Kazooie, who's not even owned by Sega, I would love to see them return, all new and approved with a fresh new look. But what are the chances this time of Banjo-Kazooie being able to return to Sonic Racing CrossWorlds? And being open and honest, I feel like it's going to be slim, because I'm not sure what's going on with that series now. And I think Nuts and Bolts was the most recent game. I just skipped that game because it wasn't even all that. It was all about just building a vehicle and things like that. But that's key, and that could be something that can really be able to bring them back into the series. Would they go back and try to get Banjo-Kazooie back? Will they try to get back some of these other third-party characters that were in this game from before? So we don't know. I just feel like Banjo-Kazooie is probably not going to come back, but I would love to see them return since they were playable. And I want to see most of these guys be able to return, and there's all types of different surprises that can be contained within these third-party characters. And with this list to finish and close out, because I'm going to start naming the rest of them, I wanted to make the most sense. I wanted to pick the characters that make the most sense of being able to get in, considering the history for Sega. Sega has a really good relationship with Nintendo, believe it or not. And they also have a really good relationship with Capcom, and they have history with them collabing. Sonic has collabed with Monster Hunter and many others, and it's so much other different possibilities concerning the relationship with Capcom. I'm not sure about Nintendo. You know, it's probably gonna be something different. It's probably not gonna be any Nintendo characters. We're gonna get into that. So I went with Mega Man just to be able to get in and see that track. I'm gonna go back. See this little track with the Final Fortress? These are like closer. These are the closest tracks that could come into that comes closer to a Mega Man track, because it looks similar to. It can look the similar. They can add Dr. Wily's Castle, for example. Wily's Castle, for example, and it can come close to a track or a cross world with Mega Man's world being implemented in this game for a future update for a future third-party character. I think Mega Man has a really good chance, and it'll make the most sense of them being able to add him in. Will they go Mega Man, or will they add X and Zero? X and Zero could be playable. That'll be really cool to see. Playable racers and be able to get a track based off the Mega Man X series, or just the Mega Man series in general, with Dr. Wily's Castle, and made it in Super Smash Bros. So they could do something of a similar light. These sort of tracks that y'all see for the Final Fortress, this is Dr. Eggman's territory, or his little headquarters and things like that, built from the ground up with his little genius evil schemes. These tracks are the closest thing that we have to a Mega Man track for Dr. Wily. So that could be something that I think Mega Man would fit as a third-party character. I didn't just want to throw him in there just because. It's because the relationship with Capcom, and I think Mega Man will make the most sense as one of them, the most likely of a good chance of being able to become a third-party character to get into this game, Mega Man and Rush can be in the game. And Rush can be the cart, because Rush can transform into whatever Mega Man wants. So he can be able to have the Rush cart with Mega Man being able to control him, and Rush can be able to have reactions like he does in the actual video games. How cool would that be? Mega Man and Rush, with Rush being the cart. See how they did Reala? Reala was a cart, so they could do stuff like that. They did it with Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon and DreamWorks. It's just all the creativity is there. What do you guys think about Street Fighter characters getting into this game? You know, Sonic the Hedgehog meeting Ryu and Ken. I think these characters, I think Street Fighter is is more likely also. It's just Capcom all over again. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they even go as far as adding a Resident Evil character for like a nice little Halloween update. All the ideas there. Sometimes I wish I was a director or some kind of developer. That's what I'm gonna be going for. You got Halloween. You can get Resident Evil characters from Capcom, from the relationship and the connections that they have with the history, with the constant collabs. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up some of the Resident Evil characters, Chris, Leon, and Jill, and things like that. The Redfields and Carlos and Wesker and things like that. They can even go as far as adding Nemesis from the Resident Evil 3. For little Halloween updates, that's all future updates that can really be able to make sense, and they can come out and be able to get added into the game. I did not put Resident Evil in my list, but it's just so many different characters that come to mind. So Street Fighter characters, I went, and then what about the Dead or Alive series? Anybody play the Dead or Alive series? I remember that from way back from the original Xbox. How about them? And then Bomberman. I would love to see Bomberman get featured in this to become a character, a playable racer. And his world is so cool to see. I love the Bomberman games to death. A Bomberman CrossWorlds or a Bomberman Try, it would go really hard to see. And see all those different bombers, Blue Bomber, the pink and black one, and things like that. All those different ones. And they can even have Max be a playable character. Bomberman and Max from the Bomberman series. It's just all the different ideas, that all the potential. That's what it took me so long to try to come up with a list. I didn't want to just keep on going on and on, but it's just so much potential with this game because different worlds can get featured and represented. So that's Dead or Alive, Bomberman, Ninja Gaiden's Ryu Hayabusa from Team Ninja. So they can add things like that. And then this was a reach for me for this final part, for this final character, for a third party character. Anybody think that they could get any sort of Nintendo characters in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, because Sega and Nintendo still have a good relationship and they have a lot of history with the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Those games are done now. Those games are over and done with now. So we're never going to see another one of those games. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games have gone on and has been a continuous business partnership with them and a collab. Mario and Sonic being able to compete against one each other, to be able to compete against one another as rivals. So Mario and Sonic can be able to renew that rivalry by having Mario in this game. But I don't think he's gonna get in this. Do you guys think, will Mario and Sonic be able to reunite again? But considering the fact that Mario Kart World is coming out, I feel like they're going to be more focused on building that game and making sure that game gets the best updates that it can for the Nintendo Switch 2 for June 5th. So, I don't know. I just think it's unlikely. This was just a reach. Nintendo characters is the biggest, I would say, is the biggest reach. And it's just like, I would just say it's a very, very slim chance. I think Banjo-Kazooie has the better chance. I would even say that. Any other character outside of the Nintendo can probably get into this game. They can even probably go and add PlayStation characters. Maybe we can see some PlayStation icons get into the game, because considering this is something I'm just throwing out there. I didn't even think about this. PlayStation character, maybe we can probably see some PlayStation icons can be able to get into this game as playable characters, because the Sonic Racing CrossWorlds network test was exclusive to PlayStation, and it was unveiled for the network test for the debut announcement for the network test for this game was at State of Play, which is a PlayStation exclusive event. So maybe they'll probably be able to get in touch with Sony to probably start adding some of these PlayStation icons getting into the game. So even if they can't really get anything out of Nintendo, they can definitely be able to pull some strings to get some PlayStation icon exclusives to get into Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Astrobot could be a playable character. Aloy, the god himself, Kratos. See what I'm saying? And Atreus, it goes on and on. They can get all those different PlayStation icons to be able to get into Sonic Racing Crossroads. So they made a deal with Sony. They can get another deal and get some of these characters in this game from Sony icons. No one has talked about that. I haven't seen anyone else mention PlayStation characters getting in this game because of the relationship and the deal that they have with Sony. So let's say we get another playtest, it might just be on PlayStation again, but it was only on PlayStation 5. So they can definitely settle a deal and be able to come to some kind of deal to really get some other additional iconic characters from the PlayStation Sony icons. So it's just all the potential that's there for this. I just haven't seen anyone talk about third-party characters like that, let alone expanding beyond the world of Sonic and Sega. So Sonic Crossroads is definitely going to be that game. It can be that game and more. It can be greater, where we don't need another Sonic racing game. It could be bigger and better. It's already a big deal because it has crossplay and all the customizations with the carts and things like that. You could do so much more. See what the carts load up. It's so much better than this. I just want to show this real quick. I don't have everything unlocked, of course, but it's so much better than this. It's just gonna go. It's better than what you have with this and things like that with some of these characters. Let's pick Silver. He's one of my. It's the customizations and more. It doesn't have to stop. It start there. It's gonna have so much more that you could be able to add to your vehicle and more. Outside of just the character customizations, it can be the biggest game with the roster to be able to take over, and everybody's going to be able to play this game, and the excitement is there. We still don't have the release date, but hopefully we'll be able to find that out soon at some point. But Sonic Racing Crossworlds can be that game to really have all types of different characters outside of the Sonic universe and Sega characters. We can be able to have an all new I would say a multiverse of characters that's in Sonic Racing Crossworlds. This could be the next multiverse of a racing multiverse, or a multiverse sort of racing game where all types of other characters can be able to get in this game. What some of the characters y'all looking for? You can jump into the comments if you want. Maybe you're just looking for one character. Some people are just looking for some of the characters from the comments, the IDW comments. Maybe some people don't really care about third-party characters, but I think third-party characters are going to make a big deal, and it's going to make the game go on and on and on. And once they get that one third-party character, that's when it starts. All the doors open up, and when they say opening up the floodgates, it's going to be able to shine, and more other companies and other iconic characters and surprises can be able to get included into this game.